In a move no one expected, King Charles has just shocked the monarchy and the world. With one solemn statement, broadcast at 9 a.m. on October 13, 2025, he stripped Queen Camilla of her title, suspending her future as consort indefinitely. The reason? A royal scandal involving Princess Diana's lost jewels, a Geneva auction, and a betrayal decades in the making. For the first time in modern royal history, a reigning monarch has publicly cut ties with his own queen. And now the House of Windsor may never be the same. This is the moment that changed everything. The Crimson Curtain falls. At exactly 9 a.m. on October 13, 2025, the heavy crimson curtains of Clarence House were drawn back to reveal a sight that would shock the world. Standing alone beside a pedestal holding Queen Mary's crown, King Charles III appeared in formal military attire. The monarch, who had waited over 74 years to ascend the throne, now stood not as a symbol of stability, but of reckoning. His voice trembled as he spoke. Effective immediately, Her Majesty the Queen Consort's title will be suspended, pending further review. Those 17 words rang out across the globe. They were broadcast live on BBC, Sky News, and streamed in 52 countries. Inside the room, aides froze. One dropped a folder. Another whispered, "It's done." Outside, reporters pressed their microphones to the black railings of the palace, stunned. The Cullinan 3 and 4 diamonds behind Charles didn't dazzle. They chilled. This wasn't just about Camilla. It was about the soul of the monarchy. "The crown must remain pure," Charles declared, a phrase that echoed not just in London, but across social media, where hashtag Queen Consort Suspended trended within minutes. It was the first demotion of its kind in over 120 years. The shock wasn't just in the act, it was in the fact that Charles, long seen as reluctant to confront scandal, had taken a step so bold and public. This was no longer palace gossip, it was constitutional thunder. This announcement shattered royal precedent. The man once mocked as indecisive had now acted with historical finality. Behind him stood a symbol of continuity. But in his words, the monarchy's most dramatic rupture in over a century had begun. The question wasn't if Camilla's reign had ended, it was why. What could drive Charles, so late in life, so entrenched in tradition, to publicly dismantle the very image he had spent decades building? The answer, as it turns out, wasn't just emotional. It was tangible, a physical object, a betrayal buried in diamonds. Diana's brooch sparks a royal firestorm. Just 7 days earlier, on the evening of October 6, 2025, an unassuming item shook the foundations of the royal family from an unlikely place. The glass-fronted auction halls of Geneva. Lot number 143 at Valmont Auctioneers was listed as a vintage sapphire and diamond brooch. To most bidders, it was stunning. But to royal historians and keen-eyed experts, it was unmistakable. It once belonged to Princess Diana, the same piece she wore in May 1992 during her diplomatic trip to Kyoto, Japan. The provenance listed was damning. The brooch had come not from the Royal Collection Trust, but from a private estate in Wiltshire. That estate? Ray Mill House, long owned by Camilla Parker Bowles since 1995. Within 48 hours, British media erupted. "Diana's brooch sold!" screamed the Daily Mirror. Archival photographs confirmed its authenticity. Worse still, appraisers discovered the brooch's original registry number meant to keep it within the royal vaults, had been quietly removed. By October 8th, Swiss authorities, under pressure from the UK Foreign Office, launched an inquiry. The chain of custody led to a shadowy jewelry broker, Martin Leck, now under house arrest in Monaco. Inside Buckingham Palace, chaos reigned. Princess Anne demanded a full audit of the royal jewelry registry. Prince William told aides at Kensington Palace, "My mother's memory is not for sale." And Catherine, often silent, insisted to Charles, "This isn't just personal, it's institutional." For decades, critics whispered that Camilla had sidestepped scrutiny. But this was no rumor. This was documented, dated, and sold. A tangible link from the woman who replaced Diana to the jewelry that once belonged to her. As the scandal exploded across headlines and households, the public turned from speculation to outrage. But behind palace doors, the most dangerous discovery wasn't in Geneva. It was in London, in velvet-lined boxes moved under cover of night. The audit that followed would change everything. The Royal Audit. On the morning of October 5th, 2025, a convoy of 3 black Range Rovers departed the Tower of London, headed for Clarence House. Inside, 45 pieces of royal jewelry wrapped in velvet, many unseen since the reign of Queen Victoria. The stated reason was an archival review, but insiders knew the truth. It was about the brooch, and what else might be missing. This was the first private audit of the royal collection since 1963. The audit team, led by 2 appraisers, 3 royal archivists, and 1 armed officer, began immediately. Within 90 minutes, 5 inconsistencies emerged. Most alarming was the absence of Diana's pearl and diamond tiara, last worn in 1995, and a sapphire bracelet featured in her 1996 Harper's Bazaar photo shoot. Worse still, several registry documents showed Camilla's stylized C, but without official authorization. It wasn't just carelessness. It was negligence, possibly theft. By October 7th, the report reached Princess Anne, whose reaction reportedly froze the Lancaster room. She confronted Charles that same night. "This is not a jewelry mix-up," she said. "This is dereliction of duty." The following day, William and Catherine joined the review. William, holding an empty case labeled Sapphire Kyoto 1992, went pale. "She wore that to meet the Emperor," he whispered. "Now it has a price tag." Charles summoned Camilla. She claimed ignorance. No one believed her. The audit concluded that 11 royal items were missing. 5 were traceable to Camilla's estate. And with that, the palace could no longer deny what had long been feared. This wasn't just about jewels. It was about justice, and it would require consequences. The confrontation. At 4:30 p.m. on October 9th, 2025, 4 senior royals entered the Maple Room of Clarence House. It was a private, rarely used chamber, once reserved for Queen Elizabeth's most serious decisions. Present were King Charles, Princess Anne, Prince William, and Princess Catherine. The gravity was clear. This wasn't a family meeting. It was a reckoning. Moments later, Camilla entered, dressed plainly in a navy dress, her usual jewelry conspicuously absent. Her silence, they say, spoke volumes. "I suppose you think I stole from her," Camilla began coldly. Anne responded immediately. "No, you betrayed the crown, and that's worse." 2 hours of tense dialogue followed. Anne produced a brown folder containing photographs, auction receipts, and shipping forms, each one linking Diana's missing jewels to Camilla's private estate. William, "Dorms, jag trodde så tränscht, flipped through the papers in silence. "Who signed these transfers?" he asked. Camilla offered no clear answer. Charles looked down, visibly shaken. Catherine broke the silence with the calmest but most devastating line. "These aren't just ornaments. They're stories. Pieces of Diana. Pieces of us." Her words hit Charles especially hard. The king whispered, "The crown cannot run on maybe." The phrase would later echo through newsrooms and history books. By meeting's end, a decision had been made. Camilla's title would be suspended. An emergency Privy Council would be called within 72 hours to formalize the review. As Camilla exited through the East Corridor, palace aides noticed her hands trembling. That night, she was seen alone in the green drawing room, staring at a framed photograph of her and Charles from May 6, 2023, the day of their coronation. Without a word, she turned the photo face down, a silent admission. Her reign was no longer royal, it was probationary. While palace walls absorbed the echoes of that summit, the outside world was just beginning to react. The press had questions, the public had fury, and the monarchy had one more step to take: speak to the people, or risk losing them forever. A nation watches. At 9:45 a.m., October 13, 2025, just 4 days after the explosive Maple Room meeting, King Charles stood once again before the world. This time he faced not velveted halls, but television cameras, reporters, and millions watching live across London, Sydney, New York, and beyond. Behind him stood Queen Mary's crown, untouched in a crystal case. The symbolism was impossible to miss. This was no coronation. This was judgment. Charles's statement was only 3 minutes long, but its impact was generational. "Queen Consort Camilla will step back from her duties," he said. "Her title is suspended, pending formal review." It was the first public demotion of a consort in 118 years. His voice wavered as he added, "This is not anger. This is a warning. We cannot lose the people's trust. Not again." To his left stood William and Catherine, both dressed in navy. Camilla was notably absent. Outside Clarence House, reactions were immediate. Hundreds gathered by the gates, laying flowers, photos of Princess Diana, and even replicas of the sapphire brooch at the heart of the scandal. On social media, the hashtags #Justice for Diana and #Crown Reckoning trended within minutes. 63% of Britons, according to an emergency ITV poll, supported the decision. Some said it didn't go far enough. Others wept. "She never got justice, but now she has dignity," read one note left at Kensington Palace. Later that evening, aides reported that Charles looked 20 years older. But he had done what no monarch in modern memory had dared: publicly hold a sitting consort accountable. Before retreating from the podium, he turned to William and quietly said, "It's your moment now." William nodded and stepped forward, holding a sealed document. The world watched. A legacy was passing, not by abdication, but by truth. The press may have called it a historic speech, but within the palace, another storm brewed. Camilla's exile had only just begun, and with Diana's memory now front and center, the ghosts of the past returned to haunt the present. Diana's revenge. Inside Kensington Palace that night, Prince William stood at the window of his study, overlooking a sea of flickering candles and handwritten notes. Crowds had gathered, just like they did in 1997, holding photos of Princess Diana placing faux sapphire brooches at the gates. "They're here for her," Catherine whispered. William nodded. "It doesn't feel like a victory," he replied. Grief, not triumph, filled the air. The monarchy had acted, but it was still broken. At Ray Mill House, Camilla sat alone in her private sitting room. At 8:10 p.m., she quietly slipped off her wedding ring and placed it on the mantel beside a photo of her and Charles from Coronation Day, May 6, 2023. She flipped the frame face down. Staff said it made a dull thump. Her retreat wasn't official, but it was absolute. Her name was scrubbed from the royal website by the morning of October 14th. Meanwhile, Charles, unable to sleep, wandered the halls of Clarence House. Stopping before the crown's jewel display, he stared at Queen Mary's diadem, its diamonds catching only the moonlight. "Liz, Diana, I'm sorry," he whispered. Whether it was a prayer or a confession, no one knew. He had led the monarchy through crisis, but at what cost? As polls shifted and headlines roared, Charles remained silent, wrestling with the ghosts of Queen's past. The world now saw what the family had long ignored, that Diana's story wasn't over. She had become the spirit of justice, the woman who wore no crown but reigned in memory. Camilla's fall wasn't just political, it was personal. It was about loss, betrayal, and history refusing to stay buried. In the kingdom of crowns and shadows, Diana had spoken once more, and this time, the world listened. The Royal Audit. On the morning of October 5, 2025, a convoy of black Range Rovers pulled out from the Tower of London, flanked by armed guards. Inside, velvet-lined crates containing 45 royal jewelry pieces, including heirlooms dating back to Queen Victoria. Their destination? Clarence House, where a secret audit had been ordered by King Charles. The stated purpose was routine archival verification. But palace insiders knew the truth. This was about Diana's brooch, and what else might be missing. The audit began that afternoon in the Lancaster Room, led by 3 royal archivists, 2 independent appraisers, and 1 armed security officer. Just 90 minutes in, the team uncovered 5 discrepancies between the official registry and physical items. Among the missing, a pearl and diamond tiara last worn by Diana in 1995, and a bracelet featured in her 1996 Harper's Bazaar photo shoot. More troubling were unsigned chain of custody forms, and others signed only with Camilla's initial C. By October 7th, the completed audit report reached Princess Anne. Her reaction, aides said, was like ice freezing a room. That evening, she stormed into a private meeting with Charles. "This isn't a mix-up. This is dereliction of duty," she declared. The next day, William and Catherine joined, reviewing every flagged piece. William's voice cracked when he found an empty case labeled Sapphire Kyoto 1992. "She wore this to meet the Emperor," he whispered. "Now, it's just a memory with a price tag." Camilla was summoned again. She denied knowing the extent of the transfers, blaming assistance and vague provenance issues. But her story had changed too many times. Catherine, calm but firm, said, "These aren't yours. They were never yours." With 11 pieces tied to Diana now missing and 5 confirmed linked to Ray Mill House, the monarchy had its evidence. The betrayal was not only personal, it was institutional. With audit results confirmed and the royals unified, the monarchy had to act publicly. But that wasn't the final step. Now it was time to confront Camilla one last time and make her feel the full weight of what had been done. Camilla's downfall. At exactly 9 a.m. on October 13, 2025, King Charles made the most difficult public statement of his reign. From the Grand Hall of Clarence House, he addressed the nation live. Wearing full military dress, he stood alone beside the encased Queen Mary's crown. The air was heavy with silence as he spoke. Effective immediately, Her Majesty, the Queen Consort's title is suspended, pending formal review. The moment shattered over a 120-year-old royal tradition. It wasn't just about the brooch or a missing bracelet. Charles emphasized, this is not punishment. It is accountability. The crown cannot lose trust again. Behind him stood Prince William, Princess Catherine, and Princess Anne, visibly stoic. Camilla was not present. Outside, church bells at St. James's Palace rang. They had once chimed for births and deaths. Now they marked reckoning. Public reaction was instantaneous. Within 12 minutes, #QueenConsortSuspended trended in 52 countries. Over 1.2 million people signed online petitions demanding Camilla's permanent removal from royal duty. Crowds gathered at Kensington Palace, placing candles and photos of Princess Diana, some with handwritten signs. You protected us. They betrayed you. Meanwhile, Camilla retreated to Ray Mill House, seen only once through a tinted car window. No jewelry, no ring, no title. By nightfall, her biography had been archived on the official royal.uk website. She was no longer Her Majesty. Her new designation, Duchess of Cornwall, retired. No final press conference, no farewell tour, just silence. Staff at Ray Mill said she sat in her sitting room with a glass of brandy, staring at a photo of her coronation before turning it face down. The fall was complete. Camilla's royal chapter had closed. But even as the monarchy stripped Camilla of title and status, the real reckoning had just begun. Not behind palace walls, but in the hearts of a nation that had waited decades for truth and justice. Diana's legacy. That same evening, October 13th, Prince William stood at the window of his study in Kensington Palace. Outside, mourners lit candles beneath the gates. The air smelled of wax, roses, and rain. Catherine entered quietly. "They're not here for the crown," she said. "They're here for her." William nodded. The moment wasn't triumphant. It was solemn. Justice had arrived, but joy had not. Across Buckinghamshire, Camilla sat alone, watching the coverage. Sources say she didn't speak a word. At 8:10 p.m., she removed her wedding ring and set it beside a photograph of her and Charles on May 6, 2023, their coronation. She flipped it face down, the frame's soft thud echoing like closure. Her exile wasn't declared, but it was absolute. In palace documents, she had become non-participating. Social media became Diana's memorial. TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube looped her 1995 Panorama interview, now seen in a new light. A viral tweet read, "Diana never wore the crown, but now she rules its conscience." Newspapers from Toronto to Tokyo praised Princess Anne's courage, Catherine's grace, and William's strength. The monarchy had bent, finally, to Diana's memory. As historian Lillian Grant put it, she was never queen, but she always had the people's throne. Inside Clarence House, King Charles sat alone. Aides say he spent 2 hours that night writing by hand. The letter, titled "To My Sons," would later be archived in royal history. In it, he admitted failures, not just in duty, but in protection. "The real treasure is not in vaults," he wrote. it is in truth, and the courage to preserve it. October 14th became known as the Reckoning Day. But for Diana's admirers, it was something else: justice. The monarchy had acted. But would it be enough to heal the deepest cracks? Now, with Camilla gone and Diana honored, the palace had one final task: prove to the people that this would never happen again. A monarchy rebuilt or forever changed? By October 15, 2025, Camilla's name had been removed from official rosters, tour plans, and ceremonial schedules. Her title, Queen Consort, replaced with Duchess of Cornwall, retired. Her royal biography was archived. No further appearances were scheduled. No farewell letter. Staff at Ray Mill House were told, no press, no statements, no returns. Camilla's exile was silent, but final. King Charles, visibly aged, took quick reformative steps. He ordered independent jewel audits every 5 years, instituted new transparency laws around royal gifts, and appointed a Royal Accountability Officer, a first in British monarchy history. The Crown cannot afford secrecy anymore, he told Parliament during a closed session on October 17th. He may still wear the crown, but now he ruled as a humbled caretaker. Meanwhile, William and Catherine stepped forward with strength and clarity. At a charity gala on October 20th, they received a standing ovation. Catherine wore Elizabeth II's pearl bracelet, and William ended his speech with, "We are not just royals. We are guardians of your trust." Their approval soared to 88%, the highest since 2011. Across the UK, signs read, "Long live the future." The people had chosen, and the Crown, at last, listened. Legacy, it turned out, was not forged in diamonds or robes. It was born of truth, confession, and the willingness to begin again. In her silence, Diana had become louder than the monarchy itself. And now, from her memory, the royal family would try to rebuild, not just with tradition, but with honesty. The final jewel wasn't on a crown. It was in the courage to change. As the dust settles on this historic upheaval, the question lingers: what now? Camilla, once at the heart of the monarchy, is now effectively exiled, her title erased, her royal biography archived, and her presence erased from official palace duties. No farewell appearance, no press conference, no defense. Her return to Ray Mill House marked not just a personal retreat, but a symbolic end to a royal chapter the public never fully embraced. Meanwhile, King Charles, aged and visibly shaken, has taken steps to restore faith in the monarchy. His creation of a Royal Accountability Officer, the first in British history, and his order for jewel audits every 5 years signal a dramatic shift. From now on, royal legacy will not be protected by silence, but by truth. And yet, it's not Charles who stands tallest in the public eye. It is William and Catherine, now seen as the true heart of the royal family. Their grace, resolve, and loyalty to Princess Diana's memory have earned them not just applause, but deep admiration. With approval ratings soaring to 88% and crowds chanting, "Long live the future," it's clear the next generation has the public's trust. But let's not forget what triggered this reckoning. A single sapphire brooch, once worn by Diana on her 1992 trip to Japan, somehow ended up in a Swiss auction house, traced back to Camilla's private estate. What many considered a careless slight was, in the eyes of millions, a violation of history. And when confronted with the truth, the monarchy could no longer look away. Now, with Camilla removed, the royal family must confront its own ghosts and decide what kind of legacy it wants to leave. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a public confession, an acknowledgement of past wounds, and a pledge to do better. As we move forward, one thing is clear: Princess Diana's presence has never been stronger, not in title, but in truth. And it is her spirit and the people's will that have reshaped the monarchy forever. This isn't just about jewels, it's about justice. And justice, at last, has been served.